Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be building a UFC Perth, Australia pay-per-view. So for UFC 305 in August, they're going to be going to Perth, Australia, and they haven't announced any fights so far. So I'm going to be making a main card. Let's get started. Dricus du Plessis versus Isrealadesanya. So I think this is going to end up being the main event, and I'll be happy with this as a main event, Izzy, he lives in New Zealand, so he likes fighting in Australia. Obviously, he had the Strickland fight in Australia. It didn't go that well for him, but I think they need to bring this fight back to Australia. There's a lot of history here. When Izzy was champion, Dricus was supposed to fight him, but he didn't have enough time between the Robert Whittaker fight to make the turnaround to fight Izzy. So Strickland came in there. Strickland destroyed Izzy. Then Dricus won a decision over Strickland, a very controversial decision, but he won, right? So he has a belt, and Strickland's booked, Whittaker's booked, Tom Sutt's booked. So this is a fight that you make right now. It makes the most sense, and I honestly think Izzy might clip him, But it's going to be an entertaining fight. On paper, it's a 50-50 fight, and there's a lot of history here. Great main event. Run it, book it. UFC 305, Dricus versus Izzy, main event. But for the co-main event, Volk versus Aljamain Sterling. Now I know Volk did just get knocked out, but come on. Aljamain Sterling he isn't that dangerous. With Aljamain Sterling, worst case scenario, you're gonna get laid on for 3 rounds. You're not gonna get hurt very bad. Maybe he'll submit you or hit you with some ground and pound, but you're not gonna come out with any serious damage, right? And I think this is a lot better than him taking the Ilya fight, because I think Volk probably will end up fighting in Perth, Australia. So if he's fighting on this card, would you guys rather see him get knocked out in a rematch with Ilya? Would you rather see him get a good win where he can get his confidence back, take no damage, and this would be a great win for his legacy, man. So you compare this to, say, having him fight Moskar Evloev, right? He fights Moskar Evloev, he beats him. He's back at a title shot, that's great, right? But with Aljamain Sterling, that's going to be on his legacy forever. He beat arguably the greatest bantamweight ever, and that's going to be a big fight on his legacy. It's going to be a good fight that build his confidence, get him back. He won't take any damage, rather than him just getting knocked out by Ilya again. This fight will get his confidence back up to the point where maybe he will beat Ilya in a rematch. If he gets past Aljamain Sterling and destroys him, like I think he would, and most people think he would, right? Then that'll build some momentum, and he'll get him back on track to have that rematch with Ilya. But right now, this is a fight to make, perfect co-main event, and I think Aljamain Sterling deserves a big fight up the rankings. But moving on to the feature fight, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jackdellamaddalena. 2 up-and-coming fighters at the brisk of a title fight, right? So Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's coming off a couple good wins. He's 18-0, 18 finishes. Jackdellamaddalena just knocked out Gilbert Burns on UFC 299. So yeah, it would be a great fight, and honestly, Jackdellamaddalena, he might not be an easy fight for Shavkat, and if Jackdellamaddalena gets the job done against Shavkat in his country, Australia, in front of the crowd, that's going to be an insane win, and him versus Leon or Bilal, whoever has the belt, will be a hype fight. This is definitely a #1 contenders fight. 2 people that could be the future of the UFC. Obviously, Shavkat's probably going to end up being the favorite. Jackdellamaddalena has a chance, though. It's going to be a good competitive fight. Honestly, if Volk isn't ready, this would be a perfect 5-round co-main, too. I wouldn't complain with this fight as a co-main event, man. This fight would be super hype. I think the fans would be super hyped for it. Great #1 contenders match. But moving down the card, Fiziev versus Dan Hooker. I think right now, rankings-wise, this fight makes sense. You got Dan Hooker coming off some decent wins, and Fiziev coming off a couple losses. And Fiziev, he probably should take a little bit of a step down in competition. Dan Hooker should take a step up, and it would be a banger fight, super entertaining fight. You got Fiziev, who's a technical fighter, and then Dan Hooker, who's a little bit more of a brawler, but both of them always bring entertaining fights. Fiziev, all of his fights are basically a fire fight, and Dan Hooker's a dog. We've seen his fights against Dustin Poirier, Jalen Turner. He always brings an entertaining fight, and so does Fiziev. So this would honestly, it might end up being the fight of the night, man. I know both of these guys are going to bring it. Both of them got some pop in their hands, and I think it'll be a super entertaining match. And it's a competitive fight, man. I know a lot of people think Fiziev would kill him, but Dan Hooker looked pretty good in that Jalen Turner fight. He can eat some shots. He has a great chin, so he could eat some of Fiziev's shots. And yeah, it would be a perfect fight for the pay-per-view. If you're gonna put Dan Hooker against somebody, don't put him against a grappler like Gamrot or someone that would be boring. Let's give him an entertaining fight. But moving down the card, Kai Kara-France versus Manel Kape. There's a lot of history here. Kai Kara-France and Manel Kape were scheduled to fight on the Izzy versus Strickland card. Yeah, they're scheduled to fight there in September. Obviously, Kai Kara-France pulled out. Kape, he was scheduled to fight a couple times, but he missed weight. He pulled out. So I say just do this fight now. You know, I think Kai France he would have recovered from his injury. I think that Kape will recover from his injury that he had recently. It's enough time for both of them. The history is there. They both hate each other. You know, in the lead up to Kai France's fight against I can't remember the name of the dude. It was some fucking nobody, right? But in the lead up to his fight, he was talking hella shit to Kai France. You know, he was pointing the middle finger at him, calling him a faggot, and it was really funny. It would be a great build up, and I think you run this fight next, open up the main card, and it'll be a super entertaining fight too. You know, you got two great technical strikers. They'll both bring it, run it, main card opener. But moving on to the prelims, uh, taituivasa versus Chris Barnett. So, you know, oh my fuck, Chris Barnett is so fucking fat, man. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Holy shit. When I was putting this together, bro, it was hard to like measure them up and make them a similar height because how fucking big his belly is, and I can't find his waistline, so I can't put it at the same point. He is so fucking fat. Oh my god. Bro, he's so fat. Holy, how are you a UFC fighter and that fat? I know a lot of people like Chris Barnett, but it's just funny to look at, man. Look at his belly, bro. So fucking huge. But anyways, so Tai Tuivasa, he's coming off some bad losses. You give him a fat retard. You give him just a fat idiot to fight. You know, Chris Barnett is coming off a win, so you could justify giving him a ranked fight. Just run it, man. It would be a funny fight. It would be an entertaining fight, and we want to give Tai Tuivasa a knockout. You know, just give him a knockout where he can just fucking do a shoey in front of the Australian crowd, have him headline the prelims. You know, give him an easy fight. You know, he needs to have a step down in competition. You know, he just lost to fucking Marcin Tybura, so that's not a good look, right? Give him this fight. He can get back in the win column, or maybe Chris Barnett wins. I wouldn't mind Chris Barnett winning. You know, you have a fucking 300-pound 5'8" guy in the rankings at heavyweight. That would be pretty funny. It would be exciting. You know, Chris Barnett always brings exciting fights, and this fight would be a banger. It would be a first round finish for sure, and it would be funny, man. Two fat retards going at it. I mean, Tai Tuivasa, he's not that. He's pretty fucking fat, but Chris Barnett, holy shit! How are you that fat? I don't understand. All right, so moving on to the next fight, Junior Taffa versus Carl Williams. So Junior Taffa was scheduled to fight Carl Williams. Then he pulled out to take a fight for his brother, Justin Taffa, who pulled out, right? So he took the fight. Junior Taffa fought Marcos de Lima. He lost. Then his brother that pulled out, that he had to step in for, fought Carl Williams, the guy that he was supposed to fight, and then lost. So I think there's a good storyline here. It'd be pretty funny. You know, Carl Williams beat his brother, so we can go and try and avenge his brother. You know, it would be a good storyline, heavyweight fight. It makes sense right now, man. I think it makes sense for both the guys. Carl Williams, he's coming off a win over Justin Taffa's or Junior Taffa's brother. Why am I mixing the names up? So Carl Williams is coming off a win over Junior Taffa's brother. So yeah, run it. Give just Junior Taffa another shot at Carl Williams. Give him another shot to redeem his brother. And yeah, it makes sense. So Justin Taffa versus Muhammad Usman. Fuck it, let's just have all the brothers fucking fight the people that beat their brothers. Give Justin Taffa, right? Give him a chance to redeem his brother Junior Taffa. You know, Muhammad Usman beat Junior Taffa. So I say fuck it. Just do Justin Taffa, Muhammad Usman. Give Justin Taffa a chance to redeem his loss. Muhammad Usman's coming off a loss. So, you know, we don't have to give him a huge fight right now. We can give him a fight against a fat retard. And that's exactly what Justin Taffa is. So, you know, let's just have the fucking both of the brothers fucking fighting the people that beat each other, you know? And if they can both win, you know, they can both redeem each other. And then it would be a great storyline, man. It would be great. All right, so moving on to the next fight, Jimmy Crute versus Ian Cutelaba. I think I just fucked up the Ian dude's last name, but I mean, who cares? I'll just call him Ian, right? So Jimmy Crute versus Ian. I think this fight makes sense right now, you know. Both of them coming off of losses. They're both pretty far from the rankings. And I think it just makes sense. You know, I think they're at a similar point in their careers where they're not at the bottom of the UFC, but they're not close to the rankings right now. And both of these fights, if for whoever wins, it would be a good chance for them to redeem themselves, coming off a couple losses, you know. And yeah, just run the fight next. There's not much to say about it. I don't know a lot about these guys. I know fucking Ian Cutelaba. I watched his fight on UFC 299. He tried to dress up as a Hulk, then he got his ass beat. Pretty bad story, right? But yeah, I run this fight next. It makes a little bit of sense. And moving on to the last fight of the card, Tyson Pedro versus Kennedy. I'm not even gonna try and say this guy's last name. I'm just gonna call him Kennedy, right? Tyson Pedro, he's coming off a loss, I think. Yeah, he is coming off a loss. So is this guy. I think this guy, the Kennedy dude's coming off of 2 losses, right? So I say run the fight next. You know, for honestly, for these last 2 fights, I just went to Tapology and then I saw like who would kind of make sense and was like in a similar spot because Tyson Pedro's in a similar situation where he's not really close to the rankings, but he's not all the way at the bottom of the UFC, right? And same thing with Kennedy. So, they're both at a similar point, both coming off of losses, and the winner of this can push their way towards the ranking, but they're still a couple fights away. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of my card. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Peace out.